I had also thought the people would like to know their genealogy of whom they are related to. I have I'll have everyone take a DNA test to keep their family ancestry known as history goes on in the future. There would be a family tree showing the bloodline related to the adopted relatives of the generations of the families and all who they are related to in the ACE Services site of your chip. Dale Legendary. I like that idea. Is there any more of the New World Order you would like to tell or say to the people? Yes, as far as any business or companies in the world, they would have to back what they offer as a service or a product, or they may receive stiff penalties by ACE Services if found at fault. Companies that ignore the people's right for being fair or just when they operate, they may be brought to order by ACE Services to appear in court to be settled with huge fines. You see, all businesses will have a license to operate by ACE Services, and if they don't have a good record with the way they operate with the people, ACE Services can revoke their license and the business will no longer be able to operate. It will be up to the people that makes complaints against the businesses out there. ACE Services will take each complaint serious from each person and it will be resolved by a 5-person justifier panel of ACE Services. While some businesses may be addressed to a court for multiple actions against their businesses or companies from people to resolve the problem, when a business has too many complaints against them, they will be shut down immediately, not allowing the employees to log in to work for pay by ACE Services, Ace of Spades department within the system. The system will acknowledge if there are too many strikes against any agency or business to where that establishment or licensed business will then have to appear in court within 3 months or 84 days to decide on their outcome. The justifiers will be set up, usually 3 different actions to choose, but must only select one option to vote on by a jury of the court. The first option to select may be shut the licensed business down permanently by revoking their license, or the second opinion may say close the business down for a short time with a set fine that they would have to pay, or the third option for the jury to choose from may say the business is authorized to function within the economy with no finding of serious faults. The court may feel the company or business just needs a warning and will allow them to operate. Just like with Amazon out there in the world, they will be regulated by ACE Services along with the people to abide by the rules set forth for this policy. Now, Amazon, on the book side of the house, they make a standard of 30% on every book sold through their site. I don't know about you out there in the world, but I think that's ridiculous what they're getting for something that they're just marketing for you. So the new rule of thumb will be you cannot charge more than 10% of the product or service you're providing for marketing. Now for service of plumbing, electrical, construction, and similar will basically charge by an hourly wage to perform the job or big jobs not to exceed 2 times wages per the cost of materials. If the advertisement company like YouTube, Facebook offers an advertisement campaign to reach 100,000 people for a certain price, that advertising agency must provide the service of what they said they can do. If they don't fulfill your service 100%, there will be a strike against that affiliate, and they will have to refund your advertising because they promise a certain amount of viewing to the public, which they must honor. See, with Facebook and other companies similar in the world, they really don't have a contact for problems or support to talk to someone about your problem. So they deny your solution or your problem. They have an automatic voicemail, automatic spreadsheets to try to solve your problem, which makes it frustrating. Businesses in the world that turns the public's needs away by not providing help, a helpline, will find out they may be closed down if they receive too many complaints to the ACE Services Justifier's office that have been solved by having a receptionist help the individual out. All manufacturing can charge up to 33% over the cost of making the product to the public. There will be electric gambling commissioner in each designated ACE Service office to regulate casinos, electronic poker gaming sites that they receive money from. The casinos will not be able to turn up their profit margin within electric gaming, slot, electric poker games to receive more than 10% profit. You see, there will be a program written up to show the gambling slot machine in the casino the amount of cash that was received in the machine and the amount of credit which was given out. The difference can't be more than 10%. Profit in a 28-day period average out throughout the electric games for the casino of the establishment. If the casino breaks the rules, there will be penalties such as a fine on top of getting a strike. Too many strikes will close a business door down to the public. All electronic gaming for money will be monitored by ACE Services and the Gaming Commission for Fair Play. Insurance lawsuits received for death cases will change for the standard for all people to get the same entitlement as the next person. For instance, if a person hasn't held a job in a year, they would be entitled to receive, if they die at 28 years of age in a car accident, the death settlement will not go to court to figure out the sum of the money to receive. It will be calculated by a standardized form for all deaths to be figured out by a lawyer's office to what the deceased family members will get or presented to the ACE Service office for the justifiers to figure out for each death case. The person at 28 with no job, where the assigned dependents will receive from the accident $675,000 for his or her settlement from the insurance company. When it's longer than a year since you had a job, you will only get $15 an hour for your wages as a standard. If you work a job that is less than $15 an hour, the insurance amount will not be paid less than $15 for the hourly wage for anyone that perishes off this earth. At 20 years old, you would still have 30 years of work in front of you. So at $15 an hour times 1,500 hours in a year will equal $22,500 for 1 year, times by 30 years, to equal the approximately $675,000 to go to the surviving dependent or dependents or loved ones. If you held a job, the rate would be the last hourly wage, worked wage. So if you were making $33 an hour, you would be making $49,500 per year till 58. And let's say you had died at 52 in a car accident, your dependents will get approximately $297,000. If it was a child under 18 years of age, you would get a standard of $15 an hour times 1,500 hours a year, and you would calculate it for 40 years. This will give your loved ones $900,000. The insurance is based off of wages, years left to be worked. I would expect all people to try to commit themselves to 40 years from the age of 18 of schooling and work for the commitment in honoring God in the society in which we live in. There is no compounded rate per year, just the last wage worked from the day you had died till the retirement age of 58. The max entitlement that anyone will get is a max wage of $150 per hour times 1,500 hours times 40 years to equal $9 million. If a person can't figure what hourly rate, it may be figured out through salary or yearly income paid in two-figure amounts to get paid out by the insurance. If the person doesn't pay in or haven't had any pay added to their retirement in the system, it would only show you as unemployed. Just like with movie stars, if they get paid a court on acting by set amounts, even though they may make a lot, but if they don't pay any money into the retirement fund through the government, they will only receive $15 as a wage, and that would be what the individual would receive as a death benefit that passes away due to an accident. You see, certain agencies that need to view the wages from the deceased or anyone will be able to look with given access from a service site to be able to look up anyone's status of their wages that will be dated and current with the start date of a job. And if they're not working anymore, it will show the last worked wage of rate of pay in the last day that the individual had worked. I suggest the insurance companies out there in the world to adjust the rate for insurance to reflect the people who make more money should pay more than a low-paying job. If a person is killed in an automobile under any joint plan as a member, like a parent losing a child under 18 years of age, will not have to worry about their insurance going up. Accidents or deaths throughout the world will not have court to decide what will be the settlement. The police will make all deciding decisions on traffic accidents and fender benders of any sort. This will show each accident of the one at fault, or officer may state 50-50 on an accident report. If the person doesn't feel the ruling is adequate, they may submit an action through the A-Service suggestion boxes in every post office. This way, an action will be looked into by the justifiers where it will be final decision to contest it if the justifiers department didn't assign it to a court to solve. It will be a simple mathematical problem for all people equally the same. Any age after 59 years old, if you're retired at 58, will get $200,000 as a minimum when they have a vehicle coverage from any insurance company. All the people will have to list a minimum of one person and as many as 10 people to address as beneficiary survivors when they sign up to establish data for your identity at the A-Services office. It will list 10 slots where you can fill in whatever names of your liking, along with the percentage that you can adjust between the number of beneficiaries listed to the nearest 1%. This will allow you to authorize whatever percentage to each of your loved ones. If you have a will set up from a lawyer's office, the policy has to be added to your records in the A-Services system at the timing of its completion, or it will be non-existent to the system to react on, and will or will not hold priority and may be rejected if it comes up after death has occurred. If a person does not have coverage while driving and gets into an accident or by being pulled over, they will have to immediately serve 3 months in jail with no exceptions about it. You will no longer have to show proof of insurance to the authorities because they will automatically know if you have insurance by when they scan your chip. You see, the officer will be able to look your identity up through the plate number on your vehicle, and also when the officer scans your identity chip to show your criminal history, license plates, and if you're current on your driver's license, your proof of insurance along with the contact information. If you have killed someone in a crash and found to be at fault as being the cause, if you did not have insurance, you will be forever in debt for all who have died in the accident or injury with a disability, and it will be garnished from your employment earnings each period until the debt is paid in full. Now, that could be a couple million if you would be entitled to pay if it found at fault. So don't drive unless you have insurance. The money received from a death of a loved one will not have to worry on paying taxes on the money received by the insurance. But all other estate value of the one that had died will have to have 33% assets paid to the government to exclude the money that you would receive from the insurance company or government from the death claim. This is in order for all insurance companies to go by, for the death standard and disabilities to be paid to the public. If anyone working for the government shall happen to die during their work hours at work, they will be paid out to the government of what's entitled by the policy to go out to the surviving dependents, just as is figured for insurance accident death claims. All life insurances will be monitored to assure they are not receiving more than 10% profit margin each year for the services they're rendering to the public. If a person gets disabled through an accident or while any work location, a percentage will be granted for the lifelong injury starting at 10%. It will only increase by 10% increments like 20, 30, and so forth, depending on the severity of the injuries. From the time of the accident to 10 calendar months is when you will appear in front of a medical board examination to figure out if you're entitled to receive any compensation for your disability at hand. They will have fair standards to go by to allow disability to be paid. Let's say someone had a car accident and ended up with a bad head injury that caused them mentally not to function properly in life. The board will grant full disability 100% to the one that has the injury. Any person that receives a disability through the medical board across the world will have an option. They may select whether they want the whole amount of 130% of entitlement as a lump sum for the insurance of the government to be paid, or have 30% of the entitled amount to be paid into the government retirement, where they would get whatever percentage that was granted from the board. It's the same for disability as it is to figure out a person's death with wages they may have earned for life of employment. So it will be the hourly rate times from the time of the accident till the age of 58 years of work of 1,500 hours. Then you will get paid by the percentage that was granted from the board. If you were granted 100%, then that would be the same entitlement in money as if you had died. There will be an extra 30% to decide if you want to place it in the government retirement plan or take the cash. A death may be cheaper for an insurance company than some disabilities to be paid out due to the fact that they will have to give you the set amount for cash to be granted by a percentage of a lump sum. Since you will be living they will have to match 30% of the lump sum, what you will get paid to the government retirement plan if selected. Insurance companies will not hold any medical condition for difference in the rate on any policy. If a person has bipolar, he or she will be able to get the common rate for the life insurance policy equal to all and just like smokers, the insurance companies will make a common rate to charge all people equally the same. Dell Legendary. That's good to hear, because there are a lot of corrupt businesses out there that don't care about the people, but just care about making a buck. How will you know for sure if the 5-person panel will be legit for the complaints of which they have to solve? You may have some that think they're always right on what they may think towards an action. Those people will be known as justifiers for the ACE services, and in order to become a justifier, they have to pass a test that will hold common values of disputes for the people from the ACE services office. The test may be determined by a study of human rights and approved by me to say what's right within the utmost security of the answers. They will be stored in the ACE Services secure database for the results of the test answers. The people taking the tests have to have at least 90% correct in order to become an ACE Services justifier. No one will know the correct answers but the scan machine that the test will be placed into in order to check. We will call this test Justifiers Test. There will also be a double check system within the ACE services to ensure all people are taken care of appropriately with no wrong to come to anyone. 5-person justifier teams will be set up for each county as needed, saying 2 teams for every 25,000 people. They will annotate their findings to each situation and will vote on whatever matter is addressed. Dale Legendary. That's interesting. So with a county of 1 million people or more, they would have more than 400 justifiers working for the people, or 80 teams. But you said there was a double check system. Can you elaborate on that for me, please? Realize, as the reports or complaints come forward to ACE services, there are people to get and organize what's presented to the 5-person justifiers committees. The justifiers will be doing the investigation on each person case prior to voting on. These justifier teams will be switching out monthly to be with different justifiers in each of the ACE services office to vote on the people's rights. Most cases will be acted on and resolved in a week. Some cases may take longer due to the investigation process. Either way, the teams are in the same building where they may have to allot time to decide on the case at hand. If they had started the case together as 5 justifiers, it will always be from the finish with the start and the finish with the case. They will associate with each other about the case in hand, but when they are accepting to all the evidence and ready to vote, they will have to complete the process in order to allow the 5 justifier votes or actions to be decided on the 5 justifiers to set forth discipline if needed. This will include new bills or laws to address and filing judgments on different people for making their payments to the investment agencies. There will be a set standard for everything to be handled smoothly for the justifiers' decisions when they come up with their corrective actions and duty they may provide to the people. Like, for instance, if they see so many of one type of action that they're dealing with on a constant, if the justifier sees a better solution to the problem, they can approach it to come forth to better the people as a law if they submit it or pass it through the ranks to set forth for the people to vote on. There will be a chief staff assigned to each ACE Services location to be able to have solid knowledge of the people's needs and actions. So for these people to hold these positions within the government, they will have to have an IQ test taken and be able to achieve a 115 score or better on a scale from 1 to 60, to 1 to 1 to 160. Also, position would be from 35 to 65 years old. These positions across the world from different levels of population across the ACE Services offices will be paid greatly for holding this position. It will start at the lowest level of $65,000 to $165,000 for large offices and large community of people. All actions will be voted on and will have two different justifier teams from the same office to determine the outcome for each complaint. There will not be a double punishment for the outcome of the two justifier groups deciding on the action for the participant at fault. The choice of the lesser is there, where the two different actions presented to the two justifier teams will be decided on by the one receiving the disciplinary action. The selection of who will get which case will be done first thing in the morning when the justifiers start their day out in assigned teams, and they will go in the order to pull out one card from a bag until all actions or slips have been accounted for that was in the post office that have been transported to the ACE Services Ace of Spades department. Some days there may be many actions to address, and other days there may not be as many. Realize, depending on each person's case, the justifiers have the right to appeal their findings to a court depending on the seriousness of the case. They will set up options for the court to vote on each case submitted. These are only local, state, and federal court. Judges will no longer make any decisions for the ones to appear in court. They will just assure the trials are properly administered through the law of the people and the justice system. This will be set up by the justifier's office for simple selections of the jury to decide the fate of the one on trial. Dale Legendary. It sounds like you have a handle on all that. I can see it working smoothly for the people. I can't help but think how you said the economy will basically be controlled by 5 major areas like housing, food, new autos, utilities, insurance. They will not raise more than 10% per year. But I can't help but think 10 years, if you raise 10% of the product per year, that would then be 100% of what the product is worth in 10 years. That could be dangerously bad. Don't get worked up, Dale. There are safeguards within the system. At any given time, any product out there in the world where the consumer complains that it's too expensive, if it's researched by ACE Services office and found out that it has increased more than 50% for sale for such item or product, then there will be a freeze put on such product, whether it is a producer, supplier, retailer that is at fault by the local ACE Services office. If such products are over 35% increase, they can be placed on the ACE Services app to vote on for the people to freeze its values for 7 years. There will be 2 voting sites through ACE Services, one which will be of election voting product and miscellaneous, and second is of laws and rules. Whether they're production, supplies, retailers, a services mandates a price for them to abide by for such product that they sell. If they choose not to follow the mandated law outlined by services, they will be shut down and their license will be revoked to do business. Dale Legendary. Well, thank you for your time today, Scott. We will have to wrap it up for today. Is Scott Talley the Messiah of the world? It seems like he has his cards in order. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Time will only tell. Thank you for tuning in this week to CNN News Weekly, and until next time, this is Dale Legendary signing out.